Okay, hello everybody, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna do a comparison between the Seiko SKX and the Orient Kamasu. I think I did a comparison video a while back comparing the Orient Kamasu with the Orient Mako 2. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I gave the edge to the Orient Kamasu. So today I thought it's a lazy Sunday, so I thought okay, let's do a comparison between the Seiko SKX and the Orient Kamasu. So the Seiko SKX that I have here is the SKX 013, is a smaller size version of the SKX 007, but for the sake of this comparison, you can just assume that it's the 42mm Seiko SKX 007 because two of them have a very similar dimensions, similar sets of dimensions, and they are all quite wearable even for my small 6-inch wrist. And yes, this one I've modded the bezel, so I've bring the original bezel. So I'm not gonna swap out the bezel again, but I'm gonna let you see okay, this is how the SKX is supposed to look for the sake of this comparison. So without further ado, I'm gonna list down some criterias that I feel it's good for this comparison. Anyhow, before we start, I'm gonna say that this is just my own personal opinion, so it doesn't represent anything solid or rock solid down the road. It's just my personal opinion. Yep, so let's see what I will write down. Alright, this is what I thought of, and I've written down like in an impromptu manner, so this might not represent a good or true comparison between these two watches, but I think it's served the purpose for this comparison video. So let's start with the case design for the Seiko SKX. I believe the bigger SKX has the similar kind of, I would say, sort of like cushion case-ish kind of design, but the SKX 013 is obviously a little smaller, and I think here, especially on the end of the lugs, it's a bit cut off. But the overall finishing and the build on the top of the lugs, we can see there is circular brushing, and on the side it's high polish. Okay, so for the Orient Kamasu, I think it has quite a similar kind of finishing on the case. It's circular brush on the top of the lugs, and the sides are high polish as well. But if you look at them side by side, just imagine this SKX is a little bit bigger. The SKX, I would say it's more of like a cushion case design, so it will wear quite nice even like on a smaller wrist. But the Orient Kamasu is not that bad either. It's more of a more modern kind of case design. And if you look really closely in between the two, I'm not sure whether you can see, I would have to give the edge of the case to the SKX. I believe it is slightly better finish, especially on the brushing portion, because on the Orient Kamasu, it's a bit not that refined. Okay, that's what I should say. So I'm gonna give the edge to the SKX here. Well, as usual, I don't do like a lot of weightage and numbering and all that. I will just give like ticks and all that. So let's go with the case on the SKX. And next is the crystal. I believe for the crystal, we should have a quite clear winner here, depending on how you look at things. On the SKX is the mineral crystal, but it's a hardened or toughened mineral crystal by Seiko, which they call it hard legs. And on the Orient Kamasu is the sapphire. Well, there are debates, there are arguments that on a true dive watches or on a true dive watch, okay, the crystal shouldn't be sapphire because it's brittle, it will crack under pressure and all that yada yada. But as I'm not a really like professional diver and I don't go diving, I wear these watches because I like the look, and most of the time I'll be desk diving with them anyway. I'm gonna give the edge to the Orient Kamasu because sapphire, it's harder, it's more resistance to scratches and all that. The mineral crystal is not too bad either, but you know, in terms of, for the sake of science and the comparison between hardness and material, I'm gonna give the edge to the Orient Kamasu here. Crystal. Next would be the bracelet. So for this piece, it comes, or for the SKX, I believe there are two versions of bracelet. There is this Jubilee, and I think there's one oyster-like, you know, bracelet. And I would say that the clear winner here would be the SKX, because one of my biggest complaints for the Orient Kamasu is that if you can see from here, there is totally no tapering on the bracelet whatsoever. It comes with a 22 millimeters lug width, but you know, it goes all the way, or even if there is, I think there's just like little to no tapering on the bracelet here. And on the regular size SKX, it does come with a 22 millimeters lug width as well, but there will be tapering on the bracelet. And yes, boy, I would say this Jubilee bracelet, although it's jingly, jangly, you see it's like flexing around, I would say it's the most comfortable bracelet that I've ever put on I would say an affordable piece, or even I would dare say it's really like the most comfortable bracelet in all my collection here. Yep, so it's quite clear that this is the winner. Well, for the end links, there's nothing to shout about. Both they have hollow end links, and the clasp is just like, you know, pressed metal. Well, one thing that is a little bit lacking on the SKX is the clasp is not a push button deployant, so you have to force it in, and when you need to unbuckle the watch, you have to really like force it out. And on the Kamasu, it's a little bit easier because it comes with a push button deployant. Well, both of them have this fold over safety lock because they are like dive watches. So yep, it's easier to remove and all that. Okay, so I think the clear winner here, I'm gonna give it to the SKX. Well, maybe I should put like a category for clasp, but I don't know, we'll see. And next is the popularity. So I don't think I have to say much because the SKX is generally treated like a legend here for now. Even more so when Seiko decided to discontinue the SKX lineup and introduce the new Seiko 5 SRPD, which we call it 5KX. So you can say that it's a legend, all right? Well, it looks this as something like this with the original bezel. Well, I did swap up the bezel, and I did a video for that, so I'm gonna put links either in the top right corner or in the description box below, as well as my individual reviews for these two pieces, which I've covered a little bit more in depth on the specs and dimensions and all that, and the reshot, you know, yada yada. So it's quite clear that the winner here is the SKX. Alright, so it seems like the Orient Kamasu is losing out a little bit, right? But yeah, the final part will be the price. So this one is a bit hard to really point or put a finger down on which is better, but hear me out here. With the discontinuation of the SKX and all that, the price for this piece is really like moving up, you know, in a very high range. Of course, on some places you can still manage to find the SKX at a more reasonable price, but I would say these two, between the SKX and the Orient Kamasu, I would say they are about the same price as of now. Okay, and for a better deal, I would say, in terms of papers, specs on paper and all that, the Orient Kamasu will be a better pick here because of the specs. All right, so I'm gonna give it to the Kamasu. Okay, and then there's one last thing which I have not written down. It will be the movement. Okay, sorry for the poor handwriting. On the SKX, I think if you're watching this video, you should know that it's powered by the famous 7S26 movement. It's a stable workhorse that has been introduced by Seiko in 1996. 40 hours power reserve, 21,600 beats per hour and all that. It's not hand windable, it's not hackable. Okay, so that are the two major weaknesses of the 7S26. And for this Orient Kamasu, it's powered by a newer in-house movement by Orient. If I'm not mistaken, is F9220. I'm gonna put, like, I cannot remember exactly, so I'm gonna put it in the description or in the video here. So this movement, it's a newer generation of the older movement that Orient uses in their Mako Generation 1 and Ray Generation 2. So it's hand windable, it's hackable. Okay, so with that, I would say that this gives the movement on the Orient Kamasu an edge over the SKX. So I'm gonna put like a tick here. Okay, so I guess that's about it for the comparison. So now if you were to look at this two, I'm gonna put the watch here. Hopefully I wouldn't block the view. Okay, so if we were to compare these two based on the table, I think it is a tie. Well, believe me, I did not plan for this. It's like an impromptu. It's just like a lazy Sunday and I'm waiting for my lunch. So it's really like a, oops, sorry, I hit my camera stand. So it's more like an impromptu video. I didn't expect result. I didn't have, like, an idea on who the clear winner is, but well, it turns out to be a tie, and I guess it explains why I have this too. Well, I was always skeptical on getting the SKX because I feel that it's a little outdated and all that, but seeing one in person, I can understand why it's so hyped up. And for me, the SKX 013 is really like a perfect size, so it's hard for me to resist. And the Orient Kamasu, I believe, is gonna be a keeper. Well, at least for now. I think I said the same for my Orient Mako 2, which I flipped, but for now it's gonna be a keeper, or I'm gonna keep it a little longer. And for the SKX, it's definitely a keeper now. Well, I'm not gonna sell it. I'm not gonna like ride the cash wave and all that. I'm just gonna keep it as long as possible. And well, sometimes I might swap the bezel on and off, but I like how it looks on this 12-hour bezel. That is good for me to track to time zone. So there you have it. I think it's time for me to end the video before it gets too long. So yep, if you're new to my channel, if you like what I do, if you like my poor handwriting, please subscribe to my channel, and you can also follow me on my Instagram at gfw_watch. Till then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye.